Across the endless grasslands of Africa, where the scorching sun beats down on the savanna from dawn until dusk, a massive white rhinoceros slowly makes its way through the open plains. Protected by thick armor-like skin and an impressive horn, the rhino has very few natural enemies. Yet even this powerful giant cannot escape one of nature's smallest and most persistent threats. Hundreds of blood-feeding ticks cling tightly to the soft folds of skin around its ears, neck, shoulders, legs, belly, and the base of its tail. Their tiny mouthparts remain firmly embedded in the rhino's skin as they feed continuously day and night. Every bite causes constant irritation, itching, and discomfort. Some of the bite sites have already become swollen and inflamed, while others have developed into small wounds that could eventually become infected. Desperate for relief, the rhino repeatedly shakes its enormous head, flicks its ears, and rubs its body against rough tree trunks. It rolls through thick mud in an attempt to dislodge the parasites. While a few ticks fall away, most remain securely hidden deep within the folds of its thick skin, continuing to feed undisturbed. As the African sun climbs higher into the sky, tiny saviors begin to arrive. A single red-billed oxpecker glides down from a nearby acacia tree and lands gently on the rhino's broad back. It pauses for a moment, carefully scanning the giant's body before spotting dozens of swollen ticks clustered around the shoulders and neck. Within minutes, its sharp calls attract more oxpeckers from across the savanna. Soon, an entire flock gathers around the rhino. Some birds perch on its back, while others cling to its neck, shoulders, flanks, legs, and even its head. Using their bright red needle-like bills, they begin removing the swollen, blood-filled ticks one by one, with remarkable speed and precision. Each parasite quickly becomes a nutritious meal for the hungry birds. The most difficult places to reach, the inside of the ears, around the eyes, beneath the chin, and between deep skin folds, are carefully inspected by the oxpeckers. Their sharp eyesight allows them to spot even the smallest remaining parasites. Every time a tick is discovered, it is quickly plucked away and swallowed. The rhino stands almost perfectly still throughout the cleaning session. It seems to understand that these tiny birds are not a threat, but valuable partners helping to free it from days of relentless irritation. Occasionally, it flicks an ear or takes a deep breath, but otherwise remains calm as the birds continue their work. For hours, the flock works together with incredible coordination. As soon as one area has been cleaned, the birds move on to another, carefully searching every fold of skin until very few parasites remain. Their teamwork transforms the rhino into a living feeding ground while providing it with much-needed relief. By late afternoon, the transformation is obvious. Most of the blood-feeding ticks have disappeared, and the rhino's skin looks cleaner and healthier. The constant itching has subsided, and the giant no longer feels the need to rub against trees or shake its head every few moments. It appears calmer, stronger, and far more comfortable. With their work complete, the oxpeckers take flight one after another, disappearing into the nearby acacia trees with full stomachs. The rhino slowly resumes its journey across the vast African savanna, once again standing as one of the continent's most powerful animals. This remarkable partnership is one of nature's most fascinating examples of mutualism. The oxpeckers gain a reliable source of nutritious food, while the rhinoceros receives relief from hundreds of blood-sucking parasites that would otherwise weaken its health over time. Beneath a raised mound in the African savanna, a spotted hyena mother was raising 3 cubs inside an abandoned aardvark burrow. The den had once been a perfect shelter. Its narrow entrance prevented larger animals from reaching the cubs. The deep tunnels kept the interior cool during the heat of the day and warm after nightfall. But after several weeks of use, a hidden danger began to spread through the darkness. Thousands of fleas had multiplied inside the dry grass lining the floor. Ticks waited inside cracks in the soil, ready to attach themselves to any warm body that passed nearby. Small flies constantly gathered around the entrance before laying eggs in areas of damaged skin. The mother hyena suffered the worst infestation. Hundreds of ticks clung around her ears, neck, belly, and between her toes. Fleas crawled beneath her coarse fur, biting her continuously throughout the day and night. The skin around her shoulders had been scratched until the fur disappeared. A cut on one of her front legs had begun to swell. Every time she scratched it, blood seeped from the wound and attracted even more flies. The 3 cubs could not escape the parasites either. They constantly bit at their legs, rolled across the ground, and whimpered from the irritation. The smallest cub had already begun to weaken. It no longer fought its siblings for milk. Instead, it remained pressed against the wall, repeatedly flicking its ears. The mother tried to clean them. She licked the fur around each cub's neck and gently used her teeth to pull away the larger ticks. But there were simply too many. For every parasite she removed, more emerged from the dry grass beneath them. The den was no longer protecting her family. It had become the source of their suffering. That night, the mother left the burrow to search for food. She walked more slowly than usual, repeatedly stopping to bite at the irritated skin along her flanks. In the distance, her clan was gathered around the remains of a buffalo. The mother approached, but the other hyenas quickly noticed her weakened condition. The smell coming from the infected wound on her leg caused several animals to move away. A larger female growled and refused to let her enter the center of the group. The mother remained outside the feeding circle. She was too weak to challenge the stronger hyenas. By the time the clan moved on, almost no meat remained. She found only a strip of dry hide and a few small pieces of bone. On the way back, she discovered a stretch of blackened earth left behind by a grass fire several days earlier. The flames had completely disappeared. Only cool ash, burned tree trunks, and a layer of fine black dust remained. The mother stepped onto the scorched ground. She lowered herself and rolled forcefully through the ash. The dark dust spread across her fur and reached areas that her teeth and claws could not touch. Some of the fleas abandoned her body. Smaller ticks became coated in dry ash, making it more difficult for them to remain attached. The hyena rubbed her shoulder against a charred tree trunk, knocking several parasites onto the blackened earth. For the first time in days, the irritation eased slightly. But when she returned to the den, she found that her cubs were still suffering. The smallest cub lay curled against the ground, its belly covered in fleas. If they remained there, all 3 cubs would continue to grow weaker. The mother stood at the entrance for a long time. Then she made her decision. The cubs had to leave that very night. She gently gripped the smallest one by the loose skin behind its neck and carried it outside. The frightened cub struggled briefly before becoming still in its mother's jaws. The mother carried it through the dark grass toward an abandoned termite mound nearly a kilometer away. An aardvark had once dug into the base of the mound, creating a dry and protected tunnel. The entrance appeared undisturbed, and the soil inside carried no scent of predators or heavy parasite activity. The mother placed the cub inside and immediately turned back. She had to make the journey 2 more times. With every return to the old den, her body became more exhausted. The wound on her leg throbbed with pain, while ticks remained attached around her belly. As she carried the second cub away, the wind began to strengthen. Dark clouds gathered along the horizon. By the time she returned for the final cub, the first drops of rain were falling across the savanna. The mother entered the old burrow and found the youngster hiding at the far end of the tunnel. She called softly, but the cub was too weak to walk out on its own. The mother crawled deeper into the tunnel, picked it up, and pulled herself backward through the narrow passage. The moment they emerged, heavy rain began pouring down. Water rushed from the hillside directly into the den entrance. Within minutes, the dry grass inside was submerged. Thousands of fleas, parasite eggs, and larvae were swept out with the muddy water. Had the mother waited any longer, the final cub might have become trapped beneath the flooded tunnel. She immediately carried it toward the termite mound. The rain made the ground slippery. Twice the mother lost her footing and nearly dropped the cub. Each time, she quickly regained her balance and continued through the storm. When she finally reached the new den, the other 2 cubs were waiting inside. The mother placed the last cub beside them and lay across the entrance. All three youngsters immediately pressed against her belly for warmth. Outside, the rain continued to fall, but inside the termite mound, the ground remained dry. The following morning, the mother led each cub outside. She gently rolled them across the clean, damp soil, then used her teeth to remove the larger ticks still attached around their ears. Over the next several days, the cubs slowly recovered. The smallest one began standing again and competing with its siblings for food. The flea bites started to dry and heal. The cubs no longer whimpered or constantly bit at their legs. The mother still carried many wounds, but each evening she returned to the burned ground. She rolled through the dry ash and rubbed her body against the rough, charred trunks. Gradually, the number of parasites decreased, and the wound on her leg began to close. 1 week later, the calls of her clan echoed near the termite mound. The mother stepped outside. She did not immediately run toward them. In the vast grasslands of Africa, where survival is a daily struggle, danger doesn't always come from lions, leopards, or hyenas. Some of the deadliest threats are so small, they're almost invisible. Thousands of blood-sucking ticks and parasites silently cling to the bodies of wild animals, feeding day and night. They hide deep inside the ears, around the eyes, beneath the neck, and along the thick folds of skin, draining blood, spreading disease, and slowly weakening even the strongest creatures. Today's story follows an African warthog. After weeks of roaming through thorny bushes and dry savanna, its body has become a living shelter for countless parasites. Large, swollen ticks cover the edges of its ears. Clusters of blood-feeding parasites cling tightly around its neck and shoulders, and every step seems to bring discomfort. The warthog repeatedly rubs against rough tree trunks, rolls across the dusty ground, and violently shakes its head in a desperate attempt to dislodge the relentless pests. But despite its efforts, very few parasites let go. Just when the warthog appears exhausted, a tiny figure descends gracefully from the African sky. It is the red-billed oxpecker, one of nature's most remarkable wildlife cleaners. Although no larger than a human hand, this little bird has evolved into a highly specialized parasite hunter. With extraordinary eyesight, it instantly spots the largest ticks hidden beneath the warthog's coarse hair. Landing gently on its back, the bird begins its work without hesitation. Using its sharp, slender bill with incredible precision, the oxpecker carefully plucks one engorged tick after another from the warthog's skin. Every movement is fast, deliberate, and efficient. Within minutes, dozens of blood-filled ticks disappear. The bird moves methodically from the ears to the neck, then across the shoulders and down the spine, searching every inch of the animal's body for hidden parasites. What is perhaps most remarkable is the warthog's reaction. Instead of running away, it stands almost perfectly still. It seems to recognize that this tiny visitor isn't a threat, but a welcome helper. Occasionally, the warthog tilts its head or shifts its body ever so slightly, allowing the oxpecker to reach places that would otherwise be impossible to clean. It is a silent partnership built through thousands of years of evolution. For the oxpecker, this is a nutritious feast. Blood-filled ticks provide a rich source of protein and energy, allowing the bird to survive in the harsh African wilderness. For the warthog, every parasite removed means less irritation, less blood loss, and a lower risk of diseases carried by ticks. Scientists often describe this relationship as one of nature's most fascinating examples of symbiosis. However, research has also shown that the relationship is complex. In some situations, oxpeckers have been observed feeding on blood from open wounds, meaning the partnership may not always be entirely beneficial. Even so, their role in reducing parasite loads on many large mammals remains significant. After nearly half an hour of careful work, the warthog's body is noticeably cleaner. Most of the swollen ticks that once clung to its ears, neck, and back are gone. Satisfied with its successful hunt, the red-billed oxpecker spreads its wings and flies toward a nearby acacia tree, ready to search for its next client. The warthog takes a deep breath before continuing its journey across the endless savanna, lighter, healthier, and far more comfortable than before. In the unforgiving wilderness of Africa, survival isn't determined by strength alone. Sometimes, The difference between sickness and health, between suffering and relief, comes from a bird no bigger than a hand. The red-billed oxpecker may be small, but to countless wild animals, it is one of nature's most dedicated caretakers, an unsung guardian silently helping Africa's giants survive, one parasite at a time.